Hey you guys, and welcome back. So today's tutorial will be covering how to smoke your roots on your inches. So this tutorial is a two-part tutorial. This first tutorial will cover how we colored our inches, and then the second one that will also be linked to this one is how we created our wig on our sewing machine using these bundles. So let's cover the things that we'll be needing for our tutorial. So I'll be using the Empire Bundle Straight, the 12, 14, and 16 inch of this brand here. This specific pack is a 13A quality. And the main thing that we'll need is our semi-permanent to smoke our roots. Let's jump into the tutorial. All right, guys, I have made it home to the domain where we are going to make this wig. Okay, so these are all the materials that we will need for this wig. We have our HD wig cap, we have our 2x6 12-inch closure by Starlet, and we have our 613 straight 3 bundle pack of hair. Now this is my first time using this pack here. I've used the brand before, but not necessarily this grade. So this is 13A human hair, and we're going to make us a wig, okay? And then we have our Adore semi color that we're going to use to smoke our roots, okay? So let's get into the style. So the first thing that I'm going to do is sew my closure down to my dome cap. This will be my guide to let me know how much hair that I am using for my wig. And it also will be a guide for my lines that I will put on my dome cap when it's time to sew it on the sewing machine. So here is the closure sewed down. Now I'm just going to comb it out to make sure that none of the hairs got entwined in the thread, and we're going to jump into our smoking of the roots of our inches. All right, you guys, now that you have seen me sew down our closure onto our canvas head, we are now in the process of smoking the roots of our extensions. So there's a lot of ways that you can do this, but I'm gonna do the easy way. Try to work smart, not hard, right? So what I am going to do is, we have, just show you guys the inches. We have 12 inch, 14 inch, and 16 inch, okay? And basically what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use my color brush, my color bowl, and I am going to get some hot water that I already pre-boiled to the temperature that I want it, and we're going to pour it in here. Just enough that we can have coverage for our dipping. And then I am going to get our Adore color, our darkest brown, and I'm just going to put some of this in here. Anybody that's wondering why I use boiling hot water, this intensifies the color for it to go better inside of the cuticles of the hair. So it helps the color come out more, and it's just the easy method that I always use. If you ever seen any of my other videos when I color my wigs, or when I made my other wig on a sewing machine, I use the same concept, and it always works for me, so I stick with it if it's working, okay? So we are going to put some of this in here. I'm gonna put a decent amount in so we can make sure that color is in there, okay? And once that is in there, I am going to use my spooky spoon spatula. This is my color spatula I use when I do all of my color tutorials. So I'm just going to use this to stir this up so we can get this all blended in. So when I dip these bundles in here, we'll be good to go. So I know you guys are probably wondering, how are you going to do this without getting color over every piece of the hair? So I feel like this is the easiest method that you can use, and it makes more sense. I just want my roots smoked. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take off of this twist tie, and it's actually at a decent amount already, but I'm going to pull this down just a little bit more, and I am going to dip my hair probably to about right here, and then I am going to lay it on a towel and let it dry. And while this is drying, I can set up the sewing machine for our sewing tutorial. Okay, so we're just going to dip this in here. Dip it in here. Dip, 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 dip. Okay, so we have dipped our 16-inch in here. So this is what it's going to look like once it's dry. I just wanted it at a little bit of the top of the root, and I'm going to do the rest of the bundles like this, and then we're just going to let this air dry. So we're finishing up the last bundle, and as you guys can see, all the bundles have been dipped, and we're going to let these air dry for a while so we can make sure that all the hair is dry before we start to install it. Okay, you guys, I wanted to come back to you guys and show you what happened when I unraveled my bundles from dipping it in without unbundling them. So I was at the beauty supply store purchasing this hair, and I had asked a young lady how would I smoke my roots the easy way, and she told me to do the method that I showed you guys in the previous video. Now, I am a licensed cosmetologist, and I get lazy at times, I'm not gonna lie. So I always try to find different ways and different methods of doing things much easier than it normally is done. Because normally we would actually apply the color to where we want it, and we'll just have to rinse it off. And then we have our color. But I tried something different. I'm not upset about it because I didn't ruin my bundles, because I'm going to go back and color correct it anyway. But as you guys can see here, this is what we got. And what I showed you is what this was right here. This was the piece of bundle that actually was exposed. So everything else did not take, as you guys can see. You see, it's like little black blobs, maybe even a little bit over here with this one, but it didn't take. So now we have to do it the old school way. And the old school way is basically we're going to redo our color, but this time we're not going to use any hot water. We're just going to go right in with that color, and we are going to use our tint brush, and we are just going to put the color on and then let that sit, and we're going to flip it over and do the same exact thing and then rinse it off. Okay, so let me get to it. All right, so this is our first one that we did. Now we're about to do the rest of them. All right, we are done coloring our roots. Now we are going to rinse, rinse, rinse. We're going to rinse this color out of our bundles. We're going to rinse all 3 bundles. When doing this process, please make sure to use cold water. This helps keep your color in the cuticle, and it helps it seep into the cuticle better as well. Do not use warm water because that will just fade your color. So we're just going to use cool water to rinse all of the color out of this hair before we dry it. All right, you guys, here you have it, our smoked roots on our 613 bundles. I am now going to allow this hair to dry so it can be nice and dry for when we install it on our sewing machine. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please, please, please tune in to part 2. Please don't forget to follow, like, share, and subscribe to my channel and like this video. Until next time.